Blessed be your name when I'm found in the desert place.
Another blessing of the desert is that the desert changes our perspective. I didn't think much about hydration before I came out here. Now, it's a difference between life and death. We're going for a drive back home. We just got in the car and we went for a drive. Here you need a 4-vehicle convoy with the battle buddy and the 50 cal. The desert changes the way we look at things. The same is true in our spiritual lives. The desert changes how we look at things. The same was true in the Bible of King David when he was hiding in the desert from King Saul. The Bible says in 1 Samuel that David stayed in the wilderness and in the hills of the desert of Ziph. And day after day Saul searched for him, but God did not hand David over into his hands. David didn't view the desert as a place of suffering. Instead, he saw it as God's place of safety for him. Now that's a different perspective. David's perspective is like the story of a Vietnam soldier who was on patrol and they got lost and radio contact was broken. And then the next morning they got on the radio and they heard this report from the sergeant. Sir, the enemy is to our north, to our south, to our east, and to our west. And they said, oh, these guys are goners. And then the sergeant said, sir, they're not getting away from us this time. That's what we mean when we talk about a different perspective. So what is God's perspective on your time in the desert? How does He want you to look at things? Because the desert changes our perspective. I want to encourage you to consider looking at your deployment from God's perspective.
Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glory.